Ya'ate, mabuhay, and aloha. Nahko here. Welcome back to another quarantine session of Medicine Tribe Television. Real medicine. Wow, what a week. Record came out last weekend. I'm working on new music right now. I'm feeling so good. I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling really good. And I'm feeling really excited about continued evolution of planet, people, and music, and a really fascinating time that we're in. And today's guest is going to be really fun. I'm really excited to talk to Ross. Ross Golan is the guest today. Thanks so much, everybody, tuning in from all around the world. Today, we're going to talk to this fascinating guy, very inspiring fellow. He's a multi-platinum songwriter. He's an artist. He's got this amazing podcast you guys should listen to called And the Writer Is. And he's an advocate, and he's a stand-up guy. His name's Ross Golan. I'm going to just tune him in right now. Let's get this conversation going. I'm excited to chat with him today. All right, Ross. Bringing you in, boy. You. Going to talk about all the big facts. Yo.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, Ross? How you feeling, bro? Good to see you, man.
I'm good. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Thanks for hanging out and chatting for a minute.
Congrats
today.
on the album, man. Sounds dope.
Oh, snap. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you
Really
so
good.
much. It's out there now, and I'm feeling like I'm ready for the next thing, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks again for chatting today. This is this is a real background, right? I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
You got all the accolades and the fancy things back there. That looks tight. That's Selena Gomez's record behind you. Woo!
And it should be like, I don't know how to, should be a bunch
Yes. Yes. Yeah, this is the old bedroom wall.
There you go.
You know.
Well, I've got like actual like instruments and
Hey.
like how you actually make the songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got the keyboard set up in there too? Where's the keyboards at?
Oh, yeah.
Woo.
This is a 1972, like in amazing condition Fender Rhodes, and then I have like my studio set up over here.
Oh man. Oh man. Have you been how you been in this quarantine life? I mean, have you been able to be super creative and drop in, or what's the vibe been for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I'm pretty fortunate. Like I've got we've been, my family's healthy, and we're that's the first thing, and is to make sure that the people around you are taken care of who aren't healthy, and the ones who are healthy, keep them healthy. Sure. And whatnot. So we've been really fortunate on that, and that caveat, yeah, things have been pretty creative here. Like,
yeah.
I feel like I do well in this.
Yeah, same. Yeah, same. I mean, even though the majority of my time is spent out on the road, I'm a very introverted person anyways, so being at home has been very creative as well. But I find myself becoming kind of manic too, because I like doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Whether it's working on music or working on gardening and whatnot, and I got horses and everything like that. So I stay very busy. You know what I'm saying?
But also, to being a songwriter, being a musician, it's important if you are sort of manic in your head. So none of these songs sound the same. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
But for me, it's like it's okay if I go and I write something that's totally left of what I'm used to writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to push yourself and read as much as you can, and be inspired by that, and to listen
Mm-hmm.
as much as you can and be inspired by that. And it's just a song. It's just one song at a time. I think a lot of us, especially in the professional writing sort of community, you don't even want to start a song if it doesn't have a shot. It's like, well, yeah, but that's bullshit, because that's not how good songs are made. You have
Absolutely.
to take certain risks, and you have to be wrong 100%, 95% of the time. So it's worth going and write a song that's you know, a waltz or it's swung or
Right.
something that feels vintage, something that feels now, something that feels, you know, something that feels Latin, something that
Yeah.
feels, you know, Irish, whatever it is. Go there and just see the song through. It's just a day. It's just 2 days. It's just a week, you know, and
Yeah.
it'll pull you out of the quarantine very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. That's great advice. I mean, literally last night, we were looking into some of the old archives on the hard drive, some of the old songs, you know, and I try not to ever throw a song away because even though, you know, the song in its entirety may not make it, like there's pieces of it that you can use again later at some other time if it works out that way.
Maybe the most important distinction between aspiring writers and professional writers tends to be a lack of preciousness. The
Mm,
people who
mm,
are really successful aren't precious about anything. It
mm.
doesn't matter. It's just take it. It's again. It's just a song. It's just a pre-chorus. It's just a chorus. It's just a lyric concept. If the lyric was great but you never nailed it, you never nailed it. So
Right.
rewrite it. You know,
Yeah.
if the song, the melody was incredible but the lyric sucks, rewrite it.
Right.
It's just a song, and the only way you can have perspective is stepping away and going back and being honest with yourself and recognizing that you can improve your work.
Mm. Yeah. It's such a trip. I mean, I'm so curious because, you know, you are such an inspiring person. You've had so much happening in your life. You've worked with so many amazing people. You collaborated with so many amazing people. So many accolades, and I guess in a sense, you've had like album concepts put on Broadway. You've been Songwriter of the Year. I'm just kind of naming some of these things for people tuning in to sort of get an idea. But I'm so curious because like this album that I just did was a collaborative process, and it was really kind of my first time, you know, writing with other people. And you know, my whole career has been kind of this funny like backwards lane I've been in of doing my thing and building this following and this movement of people. And and then here I find myself in this 2020, you know, space and time of like putting this album out and having this really amazing collaborative experience with these really amazing producers, Cut and Dry from LA, and they've worked with people like Lena Raz and you know Jeremiah, and it's just been a really eye-opening experience for me, and like letting a lot of that ego go, letting a lot of that like control of like this is how I want the thing to go down, and open me into the space of like, damn, I really like writing with folks, you know. And uh, I wanted to ask you, you know, because you have had so much collaborative experience, how you perceive that collaboration for artists as being an important thing and a powerful thing for them to change the course of their career.
Yeah, you know, again, collaborating can mean a lot of things.
Yeah,
So, you know, I write a lot of songs 100%,
right.
but that doesn't mean that I need to end it with 100%.
Mm,
You know, if I'm, and same thing even as an artist, like, yeah, I like writing a lot of 100% songs, but I also like collaborating.
right,
And if you write a 100% song, it's okay to have someone else produce it and tear it apart and rebuild it.
right.
You know, again, it's about putting ego second. And to be honest, the more you recognize that your sole purpose as an artist is to entertain your audience,
Mm,
you know, no matter what it is, whether it's Basquiat or whether it's, you know, Andy Warhol, what the levels of entertainment really is about the person perceiving the art.
hmm.
It's not about the artist necessarily. You know, the analogy I use a lot when it comes to that is that you have these, if you go into a museum, you expect art to be in a frame. All of these are in a square, some form of a square frame.
Hmm.
That's your expectation as a viewer. And that's the starting off point with your, you know, with your artists. You guys both love art. So you're looking at the artist, and the more that they, within that frame, they push a frame out, but they still have to understand form, and they still have to understand what the listener wants.
Hmm.
And rather than viewing it as collaborating in, you know, just with the person in the studio or in the writing session, it's important to realize that you're collaborating with your audience.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
your most important collaborator is them.
Mm.
The next level is going to be the person that's in the room, and then your job in that room is to let that person feel like they had the best song that they could have had that day. I always say that, facilitate their song. It's not your song. You got to, even if you write 100% of a song, it's just not about you.
Mm.
It's not. And even
Mm.
if you're talking about your life and your melodies and your
Right.
production, it's still not about you.
Yeah, you're constantly letting go, right?
Constantly
Constantly
make it
letting
always
go.
about them, and it takes the weight off your shoulders, and it starts to allow you to go places you wouldn't have otherwise, because you realize, man, this would be way more fun if
Yeah,
the
because
audience had
you're not taking ownership of something, right? Like I
yeah.
could, yeah,
You're giving, you're sharing it. It's always about sharing the music.
shared perspective.
Your whole vibe, the whole touring industry, the whole festival industry is not it's never about you. It's about performing, it's about sharing,
Yeah, and I always say it's like as you're saying, it's the same thing. Servicing, you're providing a service to people, right?
Yeah.
In the entertainment way. And like when people have asked me, like I've collaborated with other artists on their songs, right? Written verses or whatever, or helped with, building songs or whatever. But it's interesting to hear you say that, because I feel that deeply, where like I'll go into these sessions or whatever, or I'll take someone's song, and all I want to know is what they want to get out of it. All I want to know is, so what are you trying to say? What are you trying to get from me? How can I do that for you? And I'm letting go of it the entire time. It's like, whatever you want, let's work it out. I'll give you my opinion. I'll
Yeah.
give you my opinion, because I feel like that might be what you're here for. But
Sure.
you know,
But
but
again,
it
like
is.
even in that collaborative, even in the room, my co-writers, I respect my co-writers' musicianship and their intellect so much that I trust them, that I can
Right.
give them an idea and they will expedite the process of editing, because
Right.
they'll say to me, that you could beat that, you can beat that, you can beat that. When I write 100% song alone, it's just me trying to convince myself that this part doesn't suck. And in reality, I can have somebody else tell me the whole time, like, you can beat this, you can beat this,
Right. Do you feel like with, these artists you've worked with, and these creatives that you've worked with over the years, I mean, there's got to be moments where you're like kind of like viewing yourself almost in this space where you're like almost as a therapist, and you're like trying to like, you're trying to get them to like overcome themselves, get over themselves, and like open up and just do it, be themselves and express it. And you're constantly trying to massage it out of them. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the spectrum of people, right? From the easiest people to work with, where you just drop in with them, and the synergy is just there and it works, and there's like almost an unspoken thing. And then like on the other side of it, like just dragging through, trying to get it done and getting this thing out of him. And can you talk a little bit about the spectrum there and how that's been?
Yeah, I think when you are, so in theater, because I work a lot in theater, and an actor and a character on stage needs to have a purpose in singing a song. They don't just go and sing a song. They have to want something. It's supposed to
Mm.
motivate them to get through the scene. And a lot of times when I'm with an artist, I ask them, what do they want? And it's such a simple question, but rather than being like, oh, I'm going to write a song with this concept today because it sounds good, my job sometimes is to push that person to actually talk about something that they want in life.
Mm.
So there was an artist recently that I was with who's really smart and uh, political and funny, and the lyrics are always fascinating, and that. And I was
Mm-hmm.
asking him what he wants, and he was talking about how, what is he doing all of it for? What is he doing the touring for? What is he doing the albums for? What is he doing
Mm-hmm.
it all for? And he said, well, so, he wants to someday have a house with a family. I was like, well, that's interesting to
Right.
me. Of all the things that you write about, that's one thing that that might help him dive into something he wouldn't otherwise. Let's go into why we're doing this and what we want. If it's, that's what's important, is even if it's today, it's like, I want to hit. It's why do you want to hit? what is it for in the end? You know, if it's I want to party, is why do you want to party? So you can add it together. Do you know what I mean? You can
Totally.
talk about if it's I want to drink, why do you want that drink? You say I want this drink because I want to forget you.
Right.
Now we have depth.
Right.
It's not just I want to drink, I want to drink, I want to drink. It's I want to drink because this drink will help me get there. You know,
there's a cause and effect situation there.
Yeah, I see people saying intention, and in you know, in Aristotle poetics, you need, you know, intention, obstacle, and tactics. So you need to use that also as a writer. It's like what is the point of me writing this song? What is getting me in the way of it? And then, you know, this is how I'm going to get around this. So it's pretty interesting, you know?
Yeah, there's a whole psychology to it too, right? I mean, that's sort of what I'm feeling. And it's, I had so many things as you were saying that, because there's this, in that collaborative space, like as you are overcoming your own mind and as you're helping them, as you're saying, like, I'm so curious as well from that perspective, like how you've seen some of these artists overcome their own expression and transparency in what they're talking about, transparency of their experience, which I think also brings a lot more people into listening to it when you're listening to something that's genuine and you can feel that person actually believing it, meaning it, experiencing it. It's authentic, it's genuine, and how you've seen that authenticity translated to, let's say, top 40, where you've seen struggling artists make it from 0 to 100 by executing this like almost life path where they have to overcome their own selves in order to rise to the occasion. Like, if you've got any examples or if you've got anything you can say towards that, it's one of those things that I'm like, it's like such a weird thing, bro. Like to watch people rise from these places where like my shit was so whack, bro. Like I literally like was making demos and playing at farmers markets and the coffee shops and stuff, you know, and I was having a great time. And then like somebody caught a demo and turned it into a YouTube video. It went viral. And then I was like, oh, I have to answer the call. Because I was just vagabonding around, like, you know, growing food in Hawaii and shit. And then once I saw that that was something that was catching on, I was like, oh, I need to answer the call. I need to rise to the occasion. And that's sort of in 2012 when I was like, oh, I guess this is what I need to do, and moving in that space. But like, everyone's got such a different experience, and I think
you're saying it though, which is that everybody's on their own journey, even if it's going to be Justin Bieber and Ariana with the #1 song this week. They each have a very public journey of getting to this point. And I think whether it's them or whether it's, you know, somebody who is currently playing at a coffee shop, whether they were once a #1 writer or they will eventually be one, that's still their journey. And it's, you know, the ambition a lot of people have as artists is to ring the bell and to have a #1 song. But the first thing someone will tell you who's had a #1 song is that it goes away. It doesn't matter if it's 5 weeks or if it's 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's so competitive.
It goes away. And at some point, like, you know, kids now don't know who Paul McCartney is. Like, they won't remember any of us. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not about legacy. It's not about that. It's just, you know, each person needs to live their journey, and you're, you know, you see it on the charts because you can watch their journey. But you know, if you go into MediaBase, which has the top 40 songs, that goes all the way to the top like 200 songs. You can see the journey on songs number 41 to number 200. That's fascinating. I mean, those songs climb up. I mean, not all of them start up way at top. You know, they all have their own little rise up, fall down, and they go for months and months and months, sometimes a year, before you ever get to hear them. They're still working their way up. That artist does this performance and that one, and you see a little blip here and a little blip there, and this is number 122 on the radio chart. We're just used to seeing top 10 or top 5 or number 1, but there's a whole world below it that's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever have you any experiences with other artists where like they weren't collaborators perhaps, and then they met you, let's say, or you witnessed them meeting other people, and they opened up to that collaboration and it changed their entire career. Have you seen that happen before?
Yeah, well, I like to meet people when they're really young. So it's a lot of times you'll meet someone and they've never heard of co-writing and they don't even know if they want to do this professionally yet. So in
Right,
that
right,
sense, it's easy. But when you see people who are, on album number 11, the ones that are on album number 11 learned a long time ago to collaborate,
right,
and also, again, it depends what your objective is.
right,
If your job is to create your art and you don't give a shit what the audience thinks, and you
right,
don't, like, who cares?
right,
And if you don't want hits, who cares? That's also art and music. Music
right.
isn't just hits. Music
Exactly.
is a lot of things. So if your job is to try to write music, go for it. If your job is to write hits, go for it. But if your objective is to while you're on tour, there's a whole community of people who are sitting in studios every day writing songs that are structurally competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you collaborate with those people, they will help you, in theory, get your music and your songs to become more commercially viable.
In theory. Exactly. Yeah. I was told recently that you've been working on your own music. How has that been for you outside of, this whole journey of collaborations? What's it like for you now to be doing your own music and writing your own things?
Yeah, my first record deals was in 2004 or something like that. So I've done artist records for a while. It just doesn't mean anybody ever heard it.
Right.
But last year I released The Wrong Man, which is the concept album that became the musical that we did on stage in New York last fall.
Were you like how involved were you in that? Like whole making
I wrote everything.
That's so cool.
So, but you have to understand that these things take a lot of time and a lot of teamwork and all this stuff. Even if I write the songs, it's like there's a whole team of people doing shit.
Gotcha.
But the one thing with The Wrong Man that is different is that it's not you don't listen to a single. Like anybody who's here who wants to spend an hour being crazy, smoke a joint, drink a glass of wine, close your eyes and listen to the album from front to finish, and it tells you a story. And maybe it's okay for us to tell, stories in music, and it's not just about trying to get on playlists. Even if a bunch of the songs made playlists, it wasn't about that. You have to listen to Wrong Man from the first song to the last song, and it'll take you on a journey. And that ended up becoming the impetus for doing a full musical, which, the cast is epically talented and just brilliant people. We just got 9 nominations for Drama Desk Awards, which is like
congrats.
Golden Globes for theater.
That's huge, bro.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I mean, man, it's been an amazing journey, but writing songs and being an artist, it's all being an artist. Mm-hmm. If I'm writing a song and you're releasing it as art, if I don't need to be in front of people singing it. And just because I say in the concept album, I'm not in the show. The show's with people who are, Josh Henry's the lead, and Ryan Vasquez and Sierra Renee. These guys, the cast is amazing, and the band was awesome, and legendary choreographer. Literally the Hamilton director and music director. These people are incredible. It's not mine anymore. It's theirs. And that's what I keep saying with all this stuff. It's not this thing hasn't been mine for years. Just because I'm recording it doesn't mean it's mine anymore.
I love that part though about the theater aspect of it, because uh, uh, I am still such a fan of full albums, you know, front to back, and the journey that those stories can take you on.
Yeah.
And literally, like last night, we were watching this like a it was like a YouTube video of top. I think it was like I can't remember. It was a top 20 from like 1969 or something to like 2019, and
Hmm.
it sort of played this timeline, and like, you know, Michael Jackson was like on top for like forever, you know, and then like slowly as it hits like the late 90s and early 2000s and shifted and changed, and then like um and then sort of like what was it like 2008 era, 2009, 2010 something, like singles, you know more about this than I do, but the single world started happening, you know, and like and so I love being able to integrate like theatrical aspects as far as like what comes from the theater world, because when I was in high school, like I was always the nerd in the band and always wanted to like be more involved in like, you know, the acting on stage or like, you know, building the sets or whatever, the full spectrum of it, right? But I was always playing the piano, you know, in the band or whatever. And but now, you know, like getting to do the full spectrum show, if you will, like, you know, it's more than just playing the instrument, writing the song, you know, you have just performing them as well, right? And
Yeah.
so, you know, as that whole thing has taken form, I I am fascinated and I love, you know, not just building an album from beginning to end and, you know, having you know, the the artwork that tells that accentuates the story, but then telling that story on stage through performing it, you know. And there's very much that theater element to it. I think like that that is I love it so much.
Well,
Um,
when you play your shows, your entire audience has, you know, phones up and they're dancing or they're feeling or they're interacting with each other while they're listening to you. And you know, when you listen to an album that tells a story, often people are distracted and they're not just focused.
mhm,
But when they go and they see a show, you can hear a pin drop,
right.
and people have to listen from front to finish. And so, if every lyric tells the story and you can't miss a lyric, everyone is there hanging on together, and there's a
Hmm.
collective imagination that happens. That's
Hmm.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I want to know what you think about this as well, because I, I I'm wondering, I have witnessed just in my own life transformation, you know, through music, and how that has done so much work for me in my life. And, you know, again, I just don't know where I would be without it. And so, you know, having this long career in music, um, how have you seen music be transformative for people through the collaborative process, through um, taking it from, you know, a seedling or an idea and watching it blossom into, you know, a Broadway musical, um, and you're literally seeing, you know, it change people's lives in many aspects, from the fans to people in the background, you know. Has that been a big part of the journey as well? I mean, you must be blowing your mind too to witness your own transformation within this, and the transformation of the artists and the people that listen to the music.
Yeah, I mean, again, just as much as artists are on a journey, so are songs. And sometimes the journey is not to go much further than your iTunes or your Dropbox or whatever. Sometimes
Hmm.
you think you wrote a song, you send it to people, and they don't react. And that's that journey of that song. And it doesn't mean the song's dead. It means that you can bring it back. You know, there some of the songs that I have, you know, they got cut. I Michael Franti, our friend, you know, had a couple songs with him last year. One of those songs I started in 2003.
Never throw a song away. Woo!
So, you know, it to me it didn't have a right home until then.
Right.
So it took 16 years. There are
Wow.
people who are probably on this chat that aren't as old as that chorus was, you know, but it came out, and like that's, you know, it's okay. It's the same thing, but if it's, you know, if it's, you know, Dangerous Woman and it comes from your living, you know, from your bedroom, and it ends up, you know, being a part of this artist's journey, and it helps her go where she's going, like that's how cool is it to see a song go from an acoustic guitar
Yeah,
to,
tell me about the
you
making of
know,
that song because you're saying that it started off just on the acoustic guitar in the bedroom kind of vibe.
yeah, I mean, the demo's just me singing the chorus on, you know, guitar. I'm sure I could figure it out if I got it. But, yeah.
Were you writing it with her in mind, or was it just kind of coming out of you in this way and gave it
I
to you
mean,
later?
I spent probably a month on that chorus because I had different ideas of what the adjective, like what kind of woman it could be,
Right, right, right.
you know. But I liked that word, so I
Yeah.
kind of just wrapped it around that and then tried to explain it. Um, and you know, again, like there's my co-writer Johan Carlson, which half these songs are I've been done with. You know, he's somebody I can bring an idea to, and he just makes it better.
Mm.
And you know, when we were done with it, I didn't know who it could go to, but
Okay, I see.
when Ari heard it, she did her thing on it, and it's like it's clearly supposed to be hers.
Yeah, and then it became like the big thing for her. It was like her whole
Yeah,
tour and everything. Yeah,
yeah,
that's so fascinating. I mean, again, I want to always tell songwriters who are listening or in that pocket to don't throw songs away because you never know what the hell's going to happen to them later.
they all exist, and it's that thing where you go through your old hard drive and you see all these, you know,
Yeah,
songs that you wanted never finished, whether it's that pre-chorus or it's that, oh, that's
yeah.
a really cool piano part, but I
Hmm.
didn't really write a good song on it before, and you don't even remember the song, so you can just start over,
Yeah.
you know.
With so many like hits that you have out with these collaborations, how do you, I mean, as we said, music's so transformative, and as I consistently remind myself of this language that we can agree upon, music being this language we can agree upon, that simultaneously like is an industry, but it's also first and foremost a language, and it speaks to us on so many different levels. It gives us permission to deconstruct and disarm ourselves and become in touch with ourselves, or whether that's like anger or empathy or frustration, or you just want to like not fucking think about anything and you just want to fuck off and you want to listen to whatever it is. It allows you to drop into these different experiences, and as we've seen over generations, how it has transformed the way that we are with each other, the way that societies work, the way that communities adapt and expand, and the way that the world exists together in these ways. And I'm so curious to hear from you, like as a person who has um, so much music that has reached millions, if not more, how you perceive the power of music uh, uh, navigating and shifting and changing the new world that is coming, in the sense of, I mean, especially if we look at like, what's happening right now, clearly like there's a lot of stuff from the past that, wasn't working. And I'm curious as to like where we're going, as a
Yeah, I
society
think
in the world. And
my first post when everyone was quarantined was get ready for a lot of major chords.
oh, that's
So,
funny.
and if you look at the top songs that are um, on Billboard and on radio and on iTunes, not particularly on Spotify and on Apple, because those streaming services tend to weigh hip hop heavier. But the songs that have been coming out by pop artists are almost exclusively major chords and really positive right now. And
Hmm.
whenever there's as I say, when the economy's good, people can afford to be sad. Um,
Oh, damn.
you know,
That's a Rossism right there.
yeah. So I don't know that that's like right now. I think people are going to need some positivity, and I think it's
Hmm.
our job as writers to embrace that and put out positive sounding records, even if there's meaning underneath it,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah, providing the soundtrack to the changing tide, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean
That's
it's good. No worries.
but yeah, that sad boy hip hop stuff is I think that eventually that will be on its way out.
You think so?
I think it'll just evolve. I mean, if Post Malone is releasing Circles and Sunflowers before this, I can't imagine what he's gonna do next.
Right?
So,
I
I
mean,
think it's just
what
important not to chase trends and just be yourself. And for
right.
you in particular, where your music's generally in this, positive festival feel, I think you're gonna
Hmm.
do just fine.
Well, thank you. Uh, I'm so curious, like where the music's gonna, go in
Yeah.
a post-COVID world, and also, of course, how how industry will be shaped because of it all, and the music that comes out of it. I mean, have you been sensing that the things that you are writing or collaborating on are these major chords? Are these like sort of like covered in some kind of positivity? I mean, are you finding that for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also not really good at writing sad songs. Like I write, so this is just right in my wheelhouse. You
So this
know?
is like the best time for you. You're like, hell yeah, let's make some positive shit. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about it. Right now, there's a good friend of mine, a late writer named Busby, who, when I first wrote with him, there were a couple of concepts I had, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to put that out in the world because it's a good concept. You should write that with somebody. I just don't want to be the
It's
one
not the
that
time.
does that." And then he's like, "Let's move on to the next one." And I said, "No, that's fascinating. Like you can actually choose what kind of songs you write." I know that sounds simple, but when people are constantly chasing for another hit, and a bunch of people are putting out a bunch of records about how depressed they are.
Right.
It's just maybe that's fine. They should do that, but that doesn't mean I also have to write that song. I can write
Right.
about whatever I want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I hope that people write more positive songs right now. That's
Hell
what.
yeah. I think that kind of stuff is what pushes culture, right? And helps us as a society move forward into new times.
Yeah, yeah,
And that kind of shit honestly fascinates me. The way that the music, you know, uh, influences so deeply our societies and our even our political system and the people involved, the communities.
totally.
Um, yeah. Well, Ross, I'm so stoked to have spent some time with you today. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to chat.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
We've
Appreciate
got
it.
I'm gonna write down my notes later because I caught a couple of those good Rossisms. I was like,
Perfect.
yeah, those are the ones I want to read again. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, thanks again so much. Appreciate your time and
Yeah, of
hope
course,
to see
man.
you soon, man. Stay safe and big love to the family.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
All right. Oh, look at that photo of me and my mom. Oh, it's so cute. Wow. That was a that was a really informative, insightful conversation with the legendary Ross Golan, multi-platinum songwriter, artist, host of the podcast, and the writer is, which I definitely recommend you guys listening to. He has written top 40 songs for a long time. Has worked with any artist you can imagine under the sun, and is just a fascinating guy. I mean, all across the board, as we were discussing, from having concept albums put on Broadway to being an advocate within the music industry, and having been a songwriter of the year in 2016, but also, just being an overall insightful, wise person within that space where, as a writer myself, and as we discussed, if anybody missed it, you can rewatch it again because I'll post it. But uh, you know, the the attachment that is necessary, but also the consistent letting go of the experience of songwriting, so that this, and as I've been saying, because I was like hearing things he'd say that I would go like, oh, I've said that to myself too, just in a different way, where I would say, you know, what does the song want to do? You know, what is the song trying to say? Take myself out of it the best you can. What is the song trying to say? And if you're collaborating with somebody, you know, being able to express that to them, giving them some power and saying, okay, so this is your song, or this is a song that we're working on. What do you want to say? And he was saying, what do you want out of this? You know, and yeah, so that was a really potent conversation. I'm really glad that Ross took some time to chat with us today. And I feel like I definitely got a lot out of that chat. I feel challenged right now. Like I'm gonna go write some music, obviously. But yeah, once again, that was Ross Golan. Big thanks to him for tuning in with us today. Check out his podcast, And the Writer Is. And we have so much more coming in the weeks to come. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying Take Your Power Back. The power of music is real. It is transformative. It transforms lives. It changes our world. It changes our outlook on the world. And it gives us a deeper understanding of who we are, where we're going, and provides some of those tools that are necessary. That's me. That's the bear signing off for today. I'm gonna go do some work. Thanks for tuning in. What's next? Sunday service. And basically it's the summer's over. Just joking. It does feel like that though, really. It's like boom, 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 boom. Mark, 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 mark. Time is just flying by, my friends. Tune in again on Sunday for Sunday service. I look forward to seeing you all there. Until then, mahalo, mabuhay, omatum. I'll see you guys soon. Ciao.